never know how many people actually, show up, but that's okay.
I'm gonna turn on one light. 1 second.
Yeah. Cool. 6:02. Don't know how long we should wait for people to come in, but let me go see if I see some names that I know. Edward Conde is in the house.
Oh, nice.
Jeffrey is on here. Jeffrey should come on as a panelist. I'm gonna see, maybe Charlotte can do that in the back end. Let's see if we can figure this out. If you maybe, Jeffrey, if you like raise your hand or something, then I think she can maybe add you. And then who else do we have? Who do I know? Taylor, who filmed our wonderful Kickstarter video, is in here. Thank you, Taylor, for joining and for your work. Yeah. Lots of people. I'm gonna introduce you again for everyone in a second. Oh, here you go. Here's Jeffrey. Jeffrey.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Can you see me?
No.
Tommy, can you see me? Tommy, can you hear me? Where's
Not
the,
yet.
I'm looking for the video. Where does it say video from?
Should be at the bottom of the screen.
I see the microphone, but I don't see the,
don't have the video.
I don't see the video part of it. What's up with that?
Maybe, I wonder if you maybe used a different email address than the one I invited you as a panelist. That could be.
Which email did you use?
Which email did you give me? I didn't know.
Well,
is it the number one?
Well, I did hit the link from my Penumbra Foundation.
Oh, weird.
Email, but maybe I can check to see if I have a different email.
Did you get that email as an invite as a panelist?
As a panelist, let me look. I have an invite. As a panelist, you might have seen I invited you already to Zoom as panelists. Okay, maybe I have the wrong one here. Let me see.
Let me see.
Okay, but it would have come from your email, right?
No, it would have come from an Zoom automated email.
It was Zoom, a Zoom automated.
Or maybe let us know which email address. Maybe Charlotte can still add you real quick.
Send it to my Penumbra, Jeffrey@penumbrafoundation.org.
Maybe my coworker can figure this out. Otherwise, we'll just listen to you. That's the most important thing anyway, that you can chat with us.
Let me see what I have here. Would it have been from Zoom? It would have been a
Yes.
Zoom. Oh, let me do a search. Zoom. Is it a Zoom event? Maybe it's just a Zoom.
Probably, maybe something.
What is it? Lomography team. All you want to know? Yeah, maybe that's it.
Yes,
Is that it?
yes. Is there a link in there? Maybe
marketing. Okay, let me try this. Oh, look, it's got a picture of me. Look at that. Let me see if I can find that link in here. Okay, join VMAC. Click here to join. Click that. Okay, let's try that. And then it wants me to register again, right?
Oh, maybe, yeah.
Join in progress. Okay.
Maybe you'll be added.
I am not a robot yet, but I think maybe one day I will be. And join. Okay, I am not a robot. And it's not letting me. Maybe it's because I am signed in.
Well, then never mind. I think it's the most important thing is that we can hear you.
But then you don't get to see the lenses in the background. What if I sign out and then try to sign on again with this? What do you think?
You can try that. Yeah, let's try that.
Okay, let me try that. Okay, I'm going to leave meeting and then I'll try. Okay.
All right. While we're waiting for Mr. Penumbra to figure out this issue, I'm going to just say hi to everyone. Thank you all for joining. I never thought I would have to do this for lomography, but I guess we have to go virtual and digital now. Yeah, I'm like honestly bummed we can't do this in person and all meet up and check out the lens and test it out in real life. But you know, we are working with what we got. And thank you all for joining. I hope you all have questions, and I hope we can all answer those questions for you, give you a bit of an idea of the Atoll lens, what you can expect to get. I'll be telling you a little bit about the lens itself, about the design, and why we thought we wanted to create this lens. And then we're gonna have Jeffrey hopefully tell us a little bit about art lenses in general. I'm gonna introduce everyone in a second. And then we have our wonderful testers of the Atoll lens, who I'll also introduce in a minute, and they're gonna show us some work that they've done with it, and we're gonna talk about their experience and the results and everything. And then I'm sure we'll have some time to also answer any other questions that you might have. Feel free to, I think there is a Q&A tool here that you can use to ask questions. I'll get to them towards the end. Also, my coworker in Vienna is in the background and will be answering some of them already in this chats. And then hopefully we'll get all those questions answered. Also, there will be, I'm gonna open, let me see if I can do this. I think my host Lomography has to open up the poll. We created a poll for you guys. Oh, now I'm the host. Where do I do this? I'll figure that out in a second, but we will have a little poll that I would love for all of you to fill out, so that we can talk about that, get a little bit of an idea, little feedback from everyone, and yeah, get to that at the end of the panel. Let's see, are we getting Jeffrey in here? Wow, hello from Utah, Dubai, got Vancouver, that's pretty cool. Colorado, I love this.
Yeah, there's a good variety of people on.
Yeah. All right, I do not see, oh, they're polling. The launch poll. All right, I'm gonna let this, you should probably see the poll somewhere on your screen. Do you see that? Feel free to fill this out whenever you have a second or you're bored. Towards the end, I will go back to this and we'll have a look at that. Wow, UK, people are staying up. All right. Yeah, all right, let's get started. Jeffrey raised his hand again, thank you. I'll try to add him. Nope.
Is he still having issues with this video?
He might have, his name is jumping around in my list. I guess people are coming in.
Okay,
Well,
I'm
Jeffrey,
here.
I don't think we get your video.
What are you gonna do?
Well, yeah,
Okay, you can have
All
my
right.
voice.
that's great.
Does it have the permissions on?
Yeah, I mean, I can't, it doesn't look like I have,
Like on his end?
Permissions, how would I do permissions?
You on the bottom left, there might be video.
No, there's no
See the
video
mute?
thing. I see the mute,
Oh.
but not the video.
it's okay.
Okay.
All right, I'll say, let's just get started. All right, thanks again, everyone, for joining. We're talking about our Atoll lens today. We have 7 days on Kickstarter left. So if you haven't backed it yet, maybe after this, you might want to do that. We will have 7 days. As of now, we have 664 backers, which is amazing. Thank you all for supporting this. It's really exciting to see the community. You know, every time when we launch something, we're all really nervous because even after, I think it's now 11 or so successful Kickstarters, there's always the question, you know, the day before, it's like, is this the one that's gonna fail? And it's always exciting to see when it works out really well. We funded this one in under 9 hours, which was amazing. So for us, it's just, you know, another reassurance that there is a demand for new art lenses out there, manual art lenses that are a little bit different than the standard regular lenses that you can find in the markets. And it's just a very, you know, great for us to see that that demand is still there, and that we created a product that people are excited about and eager to try out. The Atoll lens is an ultra-wide art lens, 17 millimeter, with a field of view of 103 degrees. 17 millimeters is also the focal length of our LC wide, in case you haven't gotten that little reference there. That's a little nod to one of our, you know, LCA cameras that basically started our whole company in the 90s. The LCA Plus did that. This one is really cool with very close focusing distance. For M mounts, it's 0.25 meters, which is around 10 inches. And for the mirrorless options, the Canon RF, Nikon Z, and Sony E, it's 0.1 meter, which is about 4 inches. So that's really cool and close. We will see mostly talk about all those specs while we're, you know, looking at the images that you guys created. What we will see, and what I really personally really like, because I'm not personally really a fan of super wide stuff, but I really like that it, you know, keeps the photo pretty straight and plain, and it really has hardly any distortion, which is due to the rectilinear optic. I had to memorize that word. I always mess it up. That our team was able to create, and maybe Jeffrey can explain this a little bit more how that works, but it's basically, it gets rid of the distortion and the vignetting and keeps everything very straight, which I think looks really cool. We have several different pledges on Kickstarter still available. You can save up to $150. Those just FYI, if you decide after this that you actually do want to get one of those, it's really of advantage to back the Kickstarter project instead of waiting for the live launch. Yeah, I think Right, I forgot to mention the lens mounts. It comes as an M mount standard. It's designed for M mount rangefinder. So it's also coupled with the rangefinders on M mounts cameras, but it's also going to be compatible with mirrorless Sony E, Canon RF, and Nikon Z, with the close-up lens base that's going to come with us, which is also an adapter, but also created from the same material, so that it really seamlessly blends in with the lens, and you hardly notice that you have a separate element in between. And this one also is gonna let you get closer to your subject, around 4 inches, as I mentioned. Another really cool thing about this lens is we picked something up that we've done before with the Petzval 55, which is the stopless aperture ring. So you don't have any of the stop clicks when you change the aperture, which is something sometimes a little bit, you know, needs a little time to get used to for people who are not used to that, but has the big advantage that it works really well for videography. So, you know, videographers can use the lens and change the aperture while they're shooting, and you don't, you know, have any interruptions there. So it really is also optimized, also because of it being compatible with mirrorless cameras for videography, which was something we really wanted to improve on this one. F-stop goes down to 2.8, so it's also great for low light stuff. We'll see if we have some sample images of that, but it works really well in low light situations. And it's actually, when I tried it for a second that I had it, it was actually really exciting to try some street stuff in low light with this wide angle. I really, really enjoyed that. Yeah, and then I'm sure the rest of the specs will come up while we talk about it. I can also ask my assistant to drop the specs just as a list in the chat. So if you want to go back and see some of those things, we can also drop the Kickstarter link, obviously, where you can see and read up or follow up on any of the specs that you want to look at. We will hear, as I mentioned, from Jeffrey Berliner, who's the head of the Penumbra Foundation. If you're not familiar with the Penumbra Foundation, he can tell you a little bit about Penumbra in a second, but it's a wonderful, wonderful New York-based nonprofit organization. They have an insane amount of amazing historical lenses and cameras, and host workshops and classes. They have a tintype studio and are really like the best people if you want to learn anything about historic or historic photography, really, or lenses in particular. And then we also have here some of our earliest or like first testers of the Atoll lens. I'm going to introduce them real quick. We have Erica Reed, who is from Canada. She is based in Brooklyn now, photographer, shoots digital and film, and wonderful series. I have a calendar here of her Beach Lovers series. Really amazing work. And very diverse, from street to still life and everything. Really a wonderful photographer. Thank you, Erica, for joining us. We have Christopher Davis, who's a street photographer from Newark, New Jersey, and he shot our Atoll lens also in the streets of New York for our Kickstarter video as well. I might recognize him. And we have Trevor Lee from California, who we sent the art lens to right when I think you got the lens the day the Kickstarter launched or something, and was one of the first ones then to test it out. And,
yeah, it was, I think, a day prior. Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, early testers. So I'm really curious to hear your thoughts and see your photos. And yeah, I'm gonna give it to Jeffrey if you want to tell us a little bit about art lenses.
Sure. I was looking in the chat. It said, shout out to the panelists and attendees. If you right click on him in the panelist view and ask to start video, maybe that'll get me up there. I don't know if that'll work or not.
Okay.
But until that happens, I'm sorry you can't see me, but I'm glad you can hear me. Lomography has been producing the very interesting lenses, often from an historical perspective, which I think is important, given the fact that especially most digital cameras and digital technology has been pushing the development of the lens to be sort of sharper, higher contrast, especially they're being designed to work with digital sensors. And it's not an old story with lens design, is that, you know, lens manufacturers and lens engineers are always trying to correct for aberrations. They're trying to correct for problems. And what that ends up creating are lenses that are essentially, in my opinion, too perfect. They're too sharp, or they're too contrasty, or they're too flat field, and therefore everything kind of looks the same. So what lomography has done, and you know, one of the first lenses that that I was introduced to was the Petzval. I think it was the 85 millimeter, right? It was the 85 1.8 or something like that. I think it was f1.8, and that was based on the original Petzval design lens from 1839. So sort of an interesting approach. They made a lens that was actually, the original formula, which had a curved field, with the idea of creating an out of focus area that created a particular kind of bokeh, which is the quality of the out of focus areas, that also created swirl because the lens had a curved field, and that created swirly bokeh, or swirly bokeh is what people call it. And that first lens was sort of more designed at 85 millimeter to be a portrait lens. They did coat it, which made it function very well with color film and especially on digital sensors. So they upgraded it in that way. And that gave a tool to especially, art photographers or people who want to use a selective focus in a particular way to give them an interesting look. And I enjoyed it. I used it quite a bit. I remember when it first came out, I used it at the Jazz Age lawn party. And the images I made, people just loved. They went crazy over them. And they thought I was using a lens from the 19th century, and they found out that it was a lens that can actually be used on a 35 millimeter camera, and not on a 4x5 view camera or larger. And then they came out with the Petzval 58, which gave the bokeh control, which allowed you to actually separate the elements internally. It was still a Petzval portrait lens, but it gave a little more control of that swirly bokeh. And the field was greater in that bokeh area because it was a 58 millimeter lens instead of a longer 85 millimeter lens, so you got more of that field. And I still use that lens, to this day. I use it more on film now. I don't shoot as much digital as I once shot. And I put that on I believe I have it for a Canon. If I put on a Canon, I forget which Canon I have, but I have one of those Canon Rebels. It was not quite a Rebel. It's a little better than that. I don't have too many Canon camera. I have that specific camera because the mount that I have was for Canon. I think they made a Nikon mount as well. I think the 85 had a Nikon mount that allowed me to put on a Sony Alpha, but I also put that on a Nikon F3, which I like using. And then the other lens, which wasn't mentioned in your list, which is a lens that I really like, is the Achromat, the Achromat lens, or the artist lens, which was based on a Achromat of a very early lens from 1839, which was just two pieces of glass cemented together that was used as a lens before they invented the Petzval lens, and it gave a nice soft glow, and very interesting a look to details of especially the highlights, a lot of glow. Not the easiest lens to focus, but once you figure it out, it gives you a rendition unlike any other lens. So Lomography is the only company that is actually thinking in terms of giving these artistic tools, kind of like paintbrushes, to photographers, that most companies are trying to correct for. They're trying to get rid of all of the aberrations. Lomography is going in the opposite. They're going sort of backwards and then forwards. They're looking at old designs and then sort of updating them so they can be used on digital sensors and they can be used on film cameras, especially 35 millimeter cameras. Keep in mind that these lenses, when they first made, were for large format. So Lomography comes around and they make them for 35 millimeter. So that's very important. This particular lens, which I got to shoot, I think, I know that Birgit got to see them on my Instagram. If people go to my Instagram feed, just Jeffrey Berliner, I posted some prior to this event of using this lens at night. And the reason I did that was because at f2.8, I think there's only one other lens this wide, is an 18 millimeter, I think, Zeiss, that's f2.8. That's a very expensive lens, certainly compared to this. And I've never shot that lens, so I don't know how it performs, but Birgit brought up the idea of it being corrected. I think the reason it performs the way it does is because the angle of view is not, a lot of these very wide angle lenses are like 130 degrees or even 120, 110. At 103, I think that takes care of a lot of problems. But it is quite corrected, and I was really quite surprised at the results, especially at night, where it was really maintaining the detail out to the edges, which is very important for a wide angle lens. And if you look at those images, you can see how well this lens performed, and especially at night at f2.8. And this was on film, so this is not a high ISO. This is not on a digital camera that goes to 64,000. This is at 400 ASA or ISO, and I was really quite impressed with how it held up. And the other images that I shot with it as well, it held up quite well, and that's very important for wide angle lens, especially when the light is traveling so far to the outer reaches that you get that sort of vignetting. But this lens holds up well, so I'm very impressed by it. And at f2.8, the only thing I would say is that the ability to go close, which is very important, I think, with a lens like this. So if you want to do environmental portraiture, or if you're in a group of people and you want to get close to them, you need a lens that allows you to do that. And with a lens this wide, you need to get close. There's no getting away from that. You do get some distortion. I think you're willing to deal with that. You know that going in. But many lenses that are wide, the earlier Voigtlanders, didn't get that close. And with a wide lens, you need to get close. I think, from what I understand, and using it on my Leica M, the rangefinder does not allow you. It sort of taps out at about on my M, or on an M3. I think it taps out at about 3 feet, but the lens can get closer. And I guess if you wanted to use it on your M camera, but that rangefinder, you would actually have to measure the distance, with a tape measure or a handheld rangefinder, and then dial it into the lens. But if you're using it on a digital camera or a mirrorless camera, that's not a problem at all. You're going to see it right there on the screen. So that's one point that I would make. I enjoy the lens. I think it's a great idea. I think what lomography is doing is bringing these tools, I would call them more like paintbrushes, at an affordable price that most companies are not doing or not thinking in that way at all. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Thank you so much, Jeffrey. It's really anyone who has been to the Penumbra Foundation and seen Jeffrey's collection of lenses would know that this really is a big compliment. Hearing this from you, thank you so much. I know you're our guru here when it comes to lenses.
Thank you, Birgit. And we love lomography. We have a long relationship,
yeah.
many years with the lomography, and we're happy to be involved and help out and collaborate. And I've enjoyed doing that over the years.
Yeah, definitely. Thank you so much for your overview. Yeah, that's one thing that I also am curious to see then in the poll, hopefully in the end, if how many people know other art lenses of ours and have tried those. I agree. It's kind of like paintbrushes. I think for us, it's important to create lenses that somehow we call them art lenses, so that they're manual. They are a tool for you to really be creative, and they should push you to experiment, be creative, and somehow stand out in the sea of photos taken with lenses or other products that always try to depict the most accurate image of the world. And we kind of like to play around a little bit with things. So whether it's this really bokeh of the Petzl or the daguerreotype with the softness and all, it's all a nod to historic lenses. And I really think that's a cool little niche that we found here. And so always excited to launch new ones. And this one too, I think it's exciting that we're going into mirrorless as well, and also have another M mount lens that we haven't done in a while. I feel like in the community, M mounts are being picked up again more and more, especially with a wide angle like this. That's great for street photographers, travel, or even architecture, all different things. And thankfully we have very different photographers here today. Really proud to have people having very different styles of shooting, and all showing amazing examples of how they can use this lens to in their work. So I would love to start going in and allowing you to show a little bit of your work. Why don't we start with Erica, ladies first?
All right. Thank you for having me. And can you all hear me okay?
Yeah.
Okay, great. It's not letting me share, Birgit.
Is it not?
No.
One second. I thought we tried this. I can just make you host, I think.
Okay, I think that works. Hang on.
Okay.
There we go. All right. Okay, can everyone see that okay?
Yes.
Yes. Okay, so I picked about 12 of my favorite images from this shoot, and this is the widest lens I've ever shot with. So it took me, I told the thing I kept saying in my interview was a creative challenge, and it was like really exciting for me because it was just such a different experience. But right away I went to my comfort zone, which was like getting quite close to the model. And so I'm starting to show all of you these photos, starting a little bit less experimental, but still I really like the results of how creamy and dreamy these portraits felt of our model. And you know, I got comfortable very quickly. It was really easy to use. Took in just so much information and just really had this like beautiful, dreamy effect with the photos I was taking. And so I'm moving through my comfort level of these photos. So I was still feeling a little bit cautious getting used to it, but I was just having so much fun. And then once I really stepped into the wideness of it was when I really started to appreciate something I hadn't been comfortable doing yet. And if I'm going too fast, I can go through these again, but these were.
Great. And what did you shoot that with? That was a Canon,
that was
right?
Canon RF, yeah. So I think I really started to like fall in love with it like right around here. The lack of distortion and just this like dramatic tree and our model and just how kind of breathtaking it felt to get at this angle and this kind of shot was really what excited me about the lens. And then once I left my favorite shots for the end, but the bird shots that have been circulating really was like when I truly fell in love with the lens, because they feel like this is digital, but they feel like film to me. It's like really creamy and dreamy. And I just really enjoyed getting super experimental with this. And I don't think I would have been able to create these kind of shots without this lens. And little secret was that Birgit like ran through the birds to help us create this. So that's a little bit of a behind the scenes of the lens. But yeah, these were, I wanted to keep this short. Those are the photos I chose. But yeah, I really had a great time with this. I was telling Birgit, in my paid work, I do a lot of, without a pandemic, events and weddings. And I think this would be such a great lens to do in those kind of settings. And then I also shoot a lot of work at the beach with my street series and would also, and that's about couples at the beach. So I would love to use this lens in that kind of setting. And I absolutely fell in love with it. And was really happy with how these came out, because I, for a minute was like, what am I doing? And then the more I got comfortable with it, the more I was just having so much fun with this lens.
Also, I think it's worth mentioning that that day of that shoot, we met up, you saw the lens for the very first time, you did not try it beforehand. I basically took you to some spots, or we decided where to go in Brooklyn, and we brought the model. So Erica was really just like placed there with the model in a scene and given a lens, and we said, do something, we're going to film this for a Kickstarter video. And the fact that you were able to like create that many amazing photos with what you had without any planning or like creating a concept, to me was just like, wow, this is like, even the photo with the tree, I feel like I remember, I mean, the tree looked beautiful, but at the same time it didn't stand out to me in that moment.
Yeah.
And it looks so crazy amazing in this photo, but I wish we had a comparison of like the actual how we saw it, because it looked like whatever, but really cool how it came out.
Yeah, that was a lot of fun.
Yeah.
Cool. Are we looking at questions?
Let me.
Good. There's so many things going on.
Yeah, I know. I'm like, oh, I can't keep up with this. How
How
close were you to the model? Like, do you remember?
I moved around a lot, honestly. I got really close for some of these. As I got more comfortable, moved farther and farther away. These I was actually like on the ground, lying down in front of her. This one I was fairly close. And then with the tree, I was like on my back, on my back, lying down. And then the same thing with the birds here. So a couple feet away from her, I would say for these. Yeah, so like Birgit said, we showed up, we just kind of like jumped in, and so it was like getting close, getting far. It was just like a lot of experimenting, and I think that was one of my favorite things about the lens, was just seeing what all of these things could produce. But then like in my more picky like digital, like when I'm getting, you know, paid portrait work, like this first image on the right, that building there, that's what it took me a while to get used to that, because like in a, you know, I normally shoot like a 50 milliliter, I wouldn't have these buildings on the side. So it really was a nice way, you know, I don't think we ever stopped learning as photographers. So it was a really nice like lesson in like what I should be looking for and not looking for in the camera. So it was a lot of fun.
Yeah. Thank you so much. Thanks for sharing, Erica.
Oh, of course, my pleasure.
Great. Yeah, I'm gonna switch the host. Oh, I think it's back. I'm gonna switch the host over to Christopher Davis.
Hello.
Hey.
Thank you so much for having me.
Yeah, thank you. It was great working with you. First time.
Yeah, when I first, you know, seen the lens, I just thought like, wow, like it's amazing, like it's just the build quality, and then, you know, just seeing some of the images, you know, back from the lab, and you know, I was just, you know, amazed. And yeah, let me just go ahead and share my screen really quickly. All right, can you see this?
Yes.
All right, so, you know, definitely I do a lot of street photography and documentary photography. I think the widest I've ever shot with is maybe like a 24 millimeter or so. So, you know, 17 millimeter, you know, I didn't know what to expect, you know, and how well the lens would work with me. You know, seeing that, you know, I'm always on the go, and, you know, just looking back at some of these images, you know, I do shoot a lot from the hip, and I've done a lot of studying of Daido Moriyama, and he does a lot of shooting, you know, with his body instead of his eye. And I thought that, you know, this was like really interesting, you know, to experiment with. You know, I was just up for the challenge. Yeah, and a lot of these scenes here, like I said, they're just like very candid. Some of them, you know, I actually went ahead and, you know, asked people for their portraits, and, you know, see how close I can get with them without making them feel uncomfortable, and, you know, just really, you know, talking to them. And, you know, I know from the day of the shoot, we went to Chinatown and, you know, capture a few moments. And then, you know, I'm glad, you know, I had, you know, another 24 hours with it, you know, that I can just go around and explore with it. So I did a lot of roaming around in Soho, and then a lot back in my town, my city of Newark. And yeah, I just thought that, you know, these were just very interesting, especially with this one.
This
I
is
was
so
just
great.
roaming around, seeing, you know, what can I capture with this lens, and, you know, how can I just experiment with it. So there was just, you know, a lot of waiting around, you know, see if I can capture a particular moment. And I remember just seeing, like I said, the smoke coming up, you know, from the manhole, and I seen, you know, this girl walking across the street with her dog, and I was like, wow, I have to, you know, just try to anticipate this moment and just walk, you know, as soon as she starts to walk. I think we were about maybe 5 or 4 feet away during this moment, and, you know, I just caught it. And like I said, with a lot of, you know, with a lot of these shots, like I said, I have shot from the hip. And I think this lens, you know, it's a toolkit. You know, it should be in every street photographer's toolkit. You know, especially if you want to get into those tight spaces, or if you feel as though like you see a particular you know, subject coming that you want to, you know, try to grab them quickly as possible without, you know, having to, you know, look up to the viewfinder. And yeah.
Yeah.
I really enjoyed this.
Yeah, that for the record, the lens comes with an external viewfinder. And the final product will. You didn't have that, so you really
Right.
just had to guess. And as you say, you like shoot like kind of like with your body more anyway,
Right.
and that worked out for you just
Right.
fine, right?
And also, you when you showed me a preview of actually like how how the focal length looks. So I just pretty much had that in my mind, and I was like, okay, I know that it looks like this, so I'm going to just imagine that it's when I'm shooting, it's going to look like this.
Cool. Yeah, really
Right.
great.
Right. So I did a
Great
lot of
shot.
like low light shots, long exposures as well. Just went down in the subway. This is definitely one of my favorites right here. And yeah, just I just like to get a lot of the environment when I photograph. And I thought that this was amazing.
What camera did you use? Just so
And I like
everyone
M6.
knows. Nice.
Right. And I have a Leica T at home, so I had an adapter, for M-mount lenses, and I think that came out to about like a 25 millimeter, I believe. And even like that was amazing. I didn't get a chance to take it outside, but I did a few selfies in the house, which was really nice. Yeah. And like I said, people were eager to get their photograph taken. Like I said, even though I was like super up close, I bet they didn't mind. It wasn't like a super wide telephoto lens, within that size. So it was pretty compact. Yeah, I just wanted to show a bit of these. Yeah, just getting a lot of just candid things. And with this lens, after looking back at it, this is a lens that you definitely want to try to compose like everything that's around. Because if you want to this is like a lens that you want to tell a story with. Like I said, whether if I'm photographing this man, but also seeing that he's at his stand where he's selling his merchandise, and trying to just trying to fill up the actual frame of within this photo. And even this one, I think I was about 3 to 4 feet away, and I didn't really want to disturb them, try to ask for their photos. So they were just the lady, she was just picking up crabs and putting it in the bag, and I was just right there, just with M6, just up close, taking a photo without like really disturbing the actual moment. And yeah, and some of these images here, they're from Newark. And what I really like about it is that I've shot this particular scene with a 35 millimeter, and I just like the fact that I can still get up close and still try to capture the whole entire artwork that's here. So this is definitely good for like landscape and just environmental photography as well. And also, this is another portrait of a friend of mine who owns a coffee shop downtown Newark. And then it's the last image. It's of the Paramount that's downtown Newark. I think that this is about, I want to say maybe 20, 22 feet long. So I just like the fact that I was still able to get up close and capture the Paramount. But yeah, this is definitely. I would definitely have this within my toolkit. I could definitely see myself shooting with it like daily.
Awesome. Yeah, thank you so much
for
showing you. Yeah. Yeah, I was so curious to see it being used in the street, and I mean that was what I initially thought would be the best way how to use this lens. So I was really excited to see you, create with it, and it was crazy. You only gave me like 2 rolls or so, and it was 2 days of just shooting something, and there were so many great shots in it.
Thank you so much.
I saw someone in the chat also complimented your photography. Just
thank you. I really appreciate it. Like I said, it's really an amazing lens. Like I said, I would recommend anybody who has an in-mount camera who likes doing street, definitely this should be in your toolkit.
Thank you so much. I'm gonna run over to Trevor. I feel like we're already pretty far into the time.
Hey, how's it going?
Hey.
Can you hear me good?
I can hear you, yeah. I think, Christopher, can you like unhost you? Or move the host to Trevor if you can. Or maybe we have to go through lomography. It should be somewhere. How's it going, Trevor? Thanks so much for joining.
I'm doing well. Yeah, I'm glad I can talk with you guys. Yeah,
same. You're the only one. I wasn't actually there when you tested the lens, so I have no idea. You might as well tell me you hated everything.
No, I mean, I enjoyed it. I never shoot wide. Like, I think the widest I've really shoots 24, and that's very rare. I'm typically like 40 millimeter exclusively for most of my stuff. So 17 was really wide. And it was a cool challenge. I really enjoyed it. Do you want me to do screen share, or do I need to wait?
If you want to, you can totally screen share.
Okay, cool.
I'd love to see your.
So let's do desktop. Sure.
So Trevor Lee, for in case people don't know you, is a photographer from Sacramento, California, but also is part of the team of the Dark Room, who I'm sure everyone's familiar with. So all those wonderful film comparisons and product tests and gear articles are basically coming from you. So you're trying everything that is out there.
Pretty much,
right?
Yeah. Real quick, I think I need to be the host to share. It's still not letting me do it. Am I officially the host?
It shows, yeah, I think you are.
Okay, let's see, share. Showing desktop 1, and sorry guys.
It's okay. Yeah. I still am surprised how little I know about Zoom after a year.
Oh yeah, I know. Here, I'm almost ready. I have to, for some reason, it's not letting me, but I will now. Okay, here we go. Okay, let's see if it works now. Okay, cool.
Yes.
Can you see that?
Yeah.
Perfect. Okay, so when you sent it to me, I mean, you gave me a heads up, but I didn't even know the timeline of when it was going, like the Kickstarter was going live. I didn't know like the timeline of anything. So I was just like, I'm gonna go out and shoot something real quick. And so I just went out to the country outside Sacramento, and I initially was gonna shoot it on an M3 because I have an M5, but it was getting fixed. And so I put on a friend's M3, which is a 50 millimeter viewfinder. And like Jeffrey was saying, it can only focus to a minimum of a meter compared to any M after that can go closer. And so I shot that first, but then I had a problem with the M3. It ripped the film inside. First time that's ever happened to me. So I reshot it again when you sent me a message saying, hey, this is how you can send it back to me. So I went back to the same spot, reshot it with my M5, which I had gotten back. And so this is what I shot. So I shot Lomochrome Purple both times. And I figured that was like perfect for that lens because they're both so different. So let's see. So this is a photo of my friend Brian. And it was nice. I didn't really even look that. I had a 21 millimeter viewfinder that I borrowed from someone that I could put on the top that gave me a general idea, but I was still, after a while, it's just framing with the M5 viewfinder and just kind of guessing, which was fun. It was a fun little challenge. And let's see, there we go. This is almost as close as it would focus, I believe. And these were wide open. This was at f2. And then most of the scenes that were further back, I shot at f8 just to get like better depth of field. But then when I was close up, to kind of show the shallow depth of field it could have, which I was surprised by with such a wide lens. I shot wide open if I could, if my shutter speed allowed. There's my friend Brian. And I mean, obviously there's a little bit of distortion, his shoulder, but for being so wide, I expected it to be significantly more. So I really liked the shot, and it was digital, I'd probably tweak it a little bit to bring his head closer and work with that distortion. But even as is, I was really happy with how that looked. This was actually not the first of the roll frame. This is the one shot from the M3 when the film, when it ripped it.
Yeah.
And then this shot I really like. I had no idea that when I took the shot what was going to come out and what the framing was, because I didn't have my viewfinder on it. I was kind of guessing, and it just worked out really cool. There's some balloons there. This lens is really sharp, and I love how close you can get. I love that it still doesn't have that much distortion. This one, I'm less than a yard away, less than a meter away from that beam, and the distortion's not that bad. Like, I mean, I've seen more distortion on a 24 millimeter Nikkor lens that I shoot. And it was fun, just like pretty much any lomography lenses. Like right now I have the Lomogon that I shoot on the my Nikon film cameras. And then I also have this that I'm testing right now. That's the Petzval 80.5, I believe. And the cool thing about the Leica lenses, I mean the Lomo lenses, is that when I share stuff on the darkroom, a lot of lenses kind of get lost. Like, unless I tell them, no one's going to know what that lens is unless it's a really fast aperture lens. But the cool thing about Lomo lenses is that you can see, people can tell, like, oh, that is a Lomo lens. And even this one, I could tell that it's different than wide angles that I've seen. It's just with the depth of field, the shallow depth of field that you can get and how close you can get, kind of set itself apart compared to what I've seen with other wide angle lenses. Let's see, there's one more. Then I also have this photo. These are just test photos that I took with a R6, and I literally had the R6 for 2 days, I think. And I did this just so you guys could see there's the Lomo film, what the Lomo did. I know it's not quite the same, but the other thing to point out is you can see here where you can get a lot closer with a mirrorless camera, digital, compared to film on a M body. I couldn't get this close compared to the other one.
Yeah.
But figured it'd be kind of cool to see what the scenes look like in real life compared to what Lomo Chrome Purple does. But yeah, I really enjoyed
like that shot of the parking lot or whatever that was. This one.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and if you see, like, I mean, the lights in the far corner, the light posts they're not bowed. Like, this is just Lomo Chrome Purple set in. I literally sent it into like an hour after shooting it, and it had to be shipped out because I work remotely, shipped down to the darkroom to be developed. So I posted them as soon as I got the scans back. And I was just really surprised at how good the distortion was on it. And it actually looked, for some reason, better than what it did on my R6, like digital. But I think it's just because I was thinking out the shots a little bit more and thinking. The other thing I really like about shooting with a wide angle lens that people might not realize is, since I typically shoot with 40 millimeter focal length, which is a lot tighter than 17, I think less about my metering because it's a smaller part of the scene. Compared to with a wide angle lens, there's a lot more going on because you have bright sky, you have dark shadows. There's a lot more compared to if I was shooting this scene with a 40 millimeter, it'd be a lot tighter. And I wouldn't have to think about the light as much, because I wouldn't be getting as much sky or as much shadow, if that makes sense.
Yeah, totally.
But yeah, no, I really enjoyed it. It's definitely, for a wide angle, it's definitely something that I would actually shoot with, especially with a viewfinder. Because like when I shot it, it didn't have the viewfinder, which it sounds like it's the case for everyone else. as well. But that made it kind of fun, but also with the viewfinder, think that'll be really nice because then you think about where your subject is a little bit more, and I would get a little more creative with framing, because a lot of times I wouldn't frame as far in the corner because I didn't know where that was ending.
Right.
And also the clickless aperture. It's the first time ever shooting with clickless aperture, other than technically the Lomogon, but that's a different type of aperture blade. And at first I had a hard time with it because I would be like, oh, I'm focusing. And then I'm like, it's not focusing. And then I look at it and I realize that I'm actually turning the aperture. But then after like 4 or 5 shots, it was like secondhand nature. So it wasn't that big of a deal for those of you that are wondering if clickless aperture would be an issue or not. It was not for me at all. Yeah.
Cool. Thank you for sharing
Yeah,
your
no problem.
photos. Yeah, I felt
problem.
the same way about the stopless aperture. At first I was a little like confused. I was like, I can't use it really blindly anymore, but then at the same time, it's probably better to even like pay more attention to what f-stop you're at instead of just turning it. And then yeah, for me it worked really like fast that I got used to it, and it's just it actually like feels like really nice and smooth. And yeah, I don't think it's gonna be, you know, an issue really for anyone to get used to that, but who knows. Yeah, oh my god, we are running out of time. So okay, I'm trying to see if there's are there any major big questions that we haven't gotten to right now. The Q&A are mostly answered. I would say whoever still has questions after this, I'm gonna drop, well, you can reach out to me via the Lomography USA Instagram account. I'm gonna, oops, that's directed Trevelly. I'm gonna drop that in the chat on Instagram if you have any other questions. I can also drop, or maybe Charlotte can do that, the link to the Kickstarter again. I think she did already. So there's all the info and specs on there. There's a frequently asked questions section. There's already some comments on there if you have any other questions. Maybe you guys, can you let us know where people can find you and see more of your work? Let's go backwards, Trev.
Okay, so just for my personal, it's at Trevly. And then I also run and create all the content for the Darkroom Lab, which is all film related. And yeah, so the Darkroom Lab and at Trev Lee.
Christopher?
All right, guys, you can find me on Instagram at Dolo_photo. That's DOLO_FOTO. I also help run a community darkroom here in Newark, New Jersey. It's called the Newark Print Shop, and I definitely will give you guys updates on, you know, when we're open for you guys to come in and develop and, you know, learn how to develop and make silver gelatin prints. My website is chrisdavis.co. So that's CHRYSDAVIS.co. And thank you guys so much for tuning in.
Thank you. And Erica?
My Instagram and my website are the same, Erica Reed Images, and you can find me there. And I also run a New York City-based photography collective. So if you are in the city and you are looking for a community, we're always accepting new members, and that's Camera of the Month Club. And we're also on Instagram. So reach out, don't be shy. I'm always on Instagram, so I will say hi. And yeah, thank you so much for having us, Birgit and Lomography.
Yeah.
Really exciting.
Thank you. Thank you. Jeffrey, are you still here? If you can unmute you now if you want, and let us know where people can find the penumbra.
Can you guys hear me now?
Yes.
Good. Thank you, Birgit, and thank you, Lamargavi. And it was great panelists. Thank you. I love looking at your images. You can find me, my personal work at Jeffrey Berliner on Instagram. But I do recommend that everybody look at our Penumbra Foundation Instagram. There's a lot of information. I do also suggest everybody sign up for our newsletter. If you just go to penumbrafoundation.org, we have a lot of events. We have a show up right now, which you can come and see by appointment. It's all women artists. It's a group show, and it's about COVID, being at home during COVID. I can't recommend enough that everybody look at our offerings. We have online and in person. We're limited to about 5 people in person, but many of the workshops we have are certainly are process oriented, but we have many personal vision and art photography and bookmaking workshops for people interested in getting their work out there. And I can't recommend, and we're looking to grow our community, especially with young artists. We're an organization that supports artists, and also working on outreach, and we have many programs around that theme, especially residency programs, Reathograph, bookmaking. So I welcome everybody to take a look at Penumbra Foundation. And Birgit, I can't thank you enough for inviting me. I hope I was helpful, and I'm always happy to answer questions about lenses, which is a great passion of mine.
Thank you so much, Jeffrey. Yeah, I also shared the poll results for anyone interested. It's definitely great feedback for us, so thank you for filling that out. I can't wait to see all the street photography being shot on this lens. Very excited about this. And for those 14% who are still on the fence about backing this lens, hit us up on Instagram with all the remaining questions. And I would normally do this here, but I want to be respectful of everyone's time, and we've been talking for an hour, so just reach out, DM us, and I'll try to answer all the questions. And yeah, thank you all so much for joining. It was great talking to you and seeing all your images. Thank you for your support and for always being open to testing out our crazy new products. And yeah, I hope I'll see you in real life again soon. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Birgit.
Have a good night.